Hey guys, today is going to be a very different video than what I normally do. I'm personally going to be talking about my own personal real estate investment goals, and I'm going to be diving into what I'm trying to do cash flow wise, as well as what my end goal and strategy is for real estate investing over the coming years. So you definitely don't want to miss this video. I look forward to having you join me. Welcome back, it's Tom here from Often Mortgages. Thank you again for tuning in. It's always a pleasure having you here with me. Please feel free to hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button, and hit that bell icon. That way we can grow the channel and more people like you can see this. So again, as mentioned, today's gonna be very different than what I normally do. So hopefully you guys like this type of video. Starting out with investing in real estate, I never really had a defined goal. However, over the last year or so, I've kind of narrowed it down into exactly what I'm trying to do over the coming years when it comes to real estate investing. I do want to start out with a quick disclaimer that everything I'm talking about in this video is not so much financial advice to you. It's more so me going over my journey, my goals in investing. So please don't take everything literally. And let's have some fun with this video and let's dive right into it. So with my investment strategies, I've really broken it down into three sections. The first section being cash flow, the second being appreciation, and the third being passiveness. Now my overall cash flow goal from all of my properties over the next 5 or so years is to have accumulated up to $6,000 of cash flow a month. So if you've seen my other videos, you know I run my numbers pretty conservatively. So that's again, after all expenses accounted for, I want to have $6,000 a month in passive cash flow. Now you might be sitting there thinking, how the heck are you going to attain that here in Ontario? Well, I've actually ventured out to the US lately. So for me personally, it's becoming very hard to find cash flow here in Ontario. I know that people are still finding it. However, it is a diamond in the rough. It's becoming very, very hard to find that cash flow. So for me, I ventured my way out down south to the States. And the reason being is A, the properties are cheaper, B, the cash flow is a lot higher and stronger there depending on the state that you pick. Now my overall strategy there is using the Burr Method. So of course, the Burr Method requires you to buy the property, renovate the property, which boosts the value in the property. Then you're gonna rent it out and then you're going to refinance the property. So hopefully by the end of doing all of those steps, you will essentially have your money back out of that property and you rinse and repeat and recycle your money. So far I've bought one property in the States and I plan to purchase around 1 to 3 properties a year, depending on how quickly I can cycle out that money. So I do plan on posting a video in the near future talking about my first investment in Indianapolis. However, I'm not going to go through that today because we aren't fully completed on that one yet. But to give you a little tidbit as to what we plan on having as monthly cash flow from that property is I hope to have $388 a month in passive cash flow after all expenses. Now you might be thinking that's not a whole lot. However, my initial investment for that property was very minimal. And I'm also hoping to have all of my money taken out after completing the Burr Method with this property. So if you look at that in the end to conclude, essentially I'm in that property for $0 and have $388 of positive cash flow a month while the tenant is paying down the mortgage. Now for the cherry on top, we always don't want to account for it, but the appreciation is also going to be there over the coming years. That leads me into strategy number 2, appreciation. Let me just start out by saying that any real estate investor should never bank on appreciation, in my opinion. There are investors out there who just invest solely for the sake of appreciation. However, if you are investing in a property and you are negative cash flow on a monthly basis, what's going to happen when the times change and the market has some sort of correction and your monthly cash flow is on the negative side of things? Well, that's not going to be too fun to have that property. Now, even though I am venturing my way to the States, I do still have properties here in Ontario, and those properties specifically are more of an appreciation game for me. Now, I know I mentioned don't invest for the sole sake of appreciation, but with that being said, these properties do cash flow. At the very least, they cash flow neutral. So I am hoping that those properties are going to appreciate very quickly, which they already have. Here in Ontario, we know how crazy the market has been. So that's more of my appreciation play, is to have these Ontario properties and one Alberta property, which is kind of my gamble pick. However, I'm not going to go into that. I do have another video on that property specifically. But to sum things up, my appreciation play is to have some properties here in Ontario that are going to accumulate a decent amount of appreciation over the coming years. So with that accumulated appreciation over, let's say, the next 15 to 20 years for me, then I will decide to either A, refinance all those properties and maybe hand them down to my kids, as long as the cash flow, of course, or B, sell them all off, use that money to go into my third strategy, passiveness. What I plan on doing with that money is I would like to invest that money as passive as possible. So one strategies that you can do with that money is loan that out to either investors or anyone that needs a private mortgage. So you're loaning it out privately and yielding roughly between 8 to 12% on that money, as well as typically you can get a 1% origination fee. That's kind of the cherry on top, but typically speaking, you can loan out your money between 8 to 12%, possibly even higher. So private lending works in two different ways. Essentially, you can be the borrower. So let's say you are an investor and you want to do a quick fix and flip. Well, chances are you're probably going to need private money to do so. So that is one end of the spectrum where you're going to someone that has money, you're lending or you're borrowing that money privately, which is typically going to be a higher interest rate. And the other flip side to that is that you are the investor who is loaning out your money to the other investor. So that is what I'm talking about here in strategy number 3 is I want my money, when it comes time to retiring, I want it to be as passive as possible. And private lending is one way to have a passive investment. So there you have it. Those are pretty much my investment goals in a nutshell. Starting out with strategy number 1 of the cash flow, I want to have that $6,000 coming in on a monthly basis. Then going with strategy number 2, we want to have that appreciation happen over the coming years. So with that appreciation, that is kind of the cherry on top. We sell those properties in 15 years from now, and we have that lump sum of money to essentially go to strategy number 3 and invest it super passively. Whether we invest it in private lending or whether we put that into stocks or a more safer approach with mutual funds, those are all different strategies. And of course, things will change for me over the next 15 years. So I don't have this dialed down quite yet, but that is the path that I'm steering towards. So let me know your thoughts. If you like this type of video, comment in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and maybe this is something that I can do going forward for some future videos. So thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video.